Howdy, 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 everybody. This is Ryan Accident Murphy coming to you with an ACPW special video. Now, just to get it out of the way, the reason I haven't been doing any streams the last few days is I just haven't been feeling well. Allergies and whatnot. Plus, other stuff keeps coming up, like trying to get some sleep. So, that's why, just to let you know. And I've been thinking about doing this video for a little while now, so I decided to go ahead and do it. Just as a quicker video for the day. So, if you've never watched any ACPW videos or the older AZW, this is my pro wrestling e-fed that I do. And I've been trying to do a weekly show on this, but it's just every single time I try to do it, it gets interrupted. I have something else I have to do. Something else comes up I have to take care of. I have technical trouble, so I've been trying to iron out all the things. I'm going to be trying to do it on a weekly basis, if not 2 times a week, bi-weekly, or not bi-weekly, but twice a week next month. Okay? I'm going to try. But an e-fed is, it's not like fantasy football or something like that because you don't have multiple people involved. I use a game to create my own promotion, basically. But let's get into the point of this particular video, which is the character of Angel of Death, the wrestler. The E-wrestler, if you will, Angel of Death. Now, this is the very first CAW, CAW Creator Wrestler character I ever made for No Mercy. So, as a result of that, he is probably the most well-developed in terms of skill set, in-ring ability, backstory, and everything else. Because he was first, and he's been the most fine-tuned over the years. So, the character began as kind of my in-game avatar-type character. That's usually what most people create for their first creator wrestler, is someone that's kind of their idealized wrestler version of themselves. The same is true of most games that let you make something that, you know, you want. Even like, you know, I've been playing The Sims. You know, most people probably do start by creating themselves. That's just a natural thing to do. And quite often an idealized version. So I wanted him to be kind of hardcore, because keep in mind, when the original No Mercy came out for Nintendo 64, which I bought it as soon as I possibly could get my hands on it, as soon as it came out. I was waiting for ages for it to come out, and I had all the earlier ones, even the ones that weren't very good. You know, the WWF games with like the Mortal Kombat combo type button presses to do moves and stuff. I had all of them, pretty much. Even the ECW game for 64, Nintendo 64. So as soon as I got the game, I wanted to create a wrestler, and this was 2000, was when it came out. And some of my favorite wrestlers were Mick Foley. A lot of the mid and lower card guys in WCW were favorites of mine. I preferred them to the main eventers in WCW. Because, at that point, I was absolutely fed up with the NWO. Even WWF, I was getting really sick of it. For the most part, because it had turned into the Triple H show. So I was getting kind of sick of all that crap going on. And I think it wasn't until late 2000 that I discovered ECW, so I don't think that I had gotten into that at all when I first got this game. I'm not 100% sure on the timeline there. I'm pretty sure the game came out sometime in the summer of 2000, and then ECW went under, like, first thing 2001, I want to say. I only caught like the last 3 pay-per-views of the year. for ACW before they went under, because I was looking for something new. But all of that kind of informed what Angel of Death became, which was I wanted him to be well-rounded. Those were always the guys that I tended to like the most. Either the ones that either had their own style, like Mick Foley. Even when it wasn't a hardcore match, he could make it hardcore. Just in some of the things he would do and the attitude he would bring to it. So I kind of created Angel of Death as a composite of like Mick Foley and some of the high-flying stuff. Some of the Japanese wrestlers that I had become familiar with to certain degrees up until that point. So, like I said, I wanted someone well-rounded. I wanted him to be able to, but not able to do everything perfectly. I know some people, power gamers, they'll try to do everything, or make a wrestler that does everything super powerful, overpowered. A friend of mine who always bought the PlayStation games, because he's a PlayStation guy, that's the first thing he would always do. He'd make up his own guy, but it would be as tall as it possibly could be, all the power stats as high as they could be, and always using the last ride as a finisher, pretty much. That I didn't want to go so overpowered or anything like that, but I wanted him to be well-rounded. So, able to do some high-flying, but not crazy. Like moonsaults is about the most flashy he gets, which is still true to this day. The martial arts influences, the hardcore stuff, and still able to work the mat and do some power wrestling with suplexes, mostly leverage stuff like suplexes. So I wanted to make a very well-rounded character that could do a bit of everything, but not be, OP with it. Just very well-rounded, and over the years he's become much more fine-tuned in that regard. So that's the gamer side of things. The character's backstory, which got woven in with some real-life elements as the character evolved. Because at one point, I was working at a restaurant as a dishwasher and got to be friends with one of the other guys there. And we were both fans of pro wrestling. That's about the only thing we actually had in common. But we were both big fans of pro wrestling at the time. Although my fondness for it was waning. I didn't actually stop watching at all until like 2003. So it took a few years for me to just get completely fed up. Until I started watching NJPW again in 2015. In between, that like 12-year span, I would watch indie stuff occasionally when I got bitten by the pro wrestling bug again. But nothing ever caught my attention enough that I stuck with it until New Japan. So anyway, he kind of got woven into the narrative as the Angel of Mercy. So I decided to put him in ACPW, his character, and now we can get to the bio. So the biography, the backstory for Angel of Death is that he started off in a small promotion that specialized in doing hardcore stuff. Now, I was aware of like CZW at the time, but his backstory isn't that specific. It was just a hardcore promotion. Could have been CZW or any of the ones that went out of business, or a completely fictional one. It's up to the imagination. It doesn't really matter. And that's where most of his scars come from. And he did that for a while until he caught his leg in barbed wire during a match and really tore his leg up. So he had to take several months off to get rehabbed. Because, his leg was just shredded. And that was when he started incorporating more of the martial arts as part of his rehab. And that's, as I said, that's how it got incorporated into his overall style. He started off doing martial arts as a way to get in exercise, stretching, as part of his rehab, and then he started working it into his matches. And he kind of had to stop doing the extreme hardcore stuff because he didn't want to have any more incidents like that. Because, I mean, he really screwed his leg up for a while. He had to have some surgeries and rehab done to repair muscles and whatnot. So after that, he went to a more, shall we say, regular promotion, if you will, that mostly just did basic wrestling. You know, I say basic wrestling, that makes it sound beneath or lesser than. I don't mean it that way. I just mean, you know, not so much hardcore standard wrestling matches, tag matches, that sort of stuff. And that's where he started developing more of the martial arts, submission wrestling, and the power wrestling. Because he didn't want to rely on hardcore stuff as much as he used to. He needed to change things up a bit. And he worked there for a while. Then he went to another promotion that did the handshake thing, where you're supposed to shake hands before the match starts. And after he had been there for just a little while, he started doing his thing that, you know, he'd work it out with the guys ahead of time. Obviously, it's pro wrestling. But anybody who would not shake his hand, refused to shake his hand, he would knock them the fuck out. Inevitably, that's how the match would end. And sometimes, right after the bell would ring, kick, they're down, that's it, it's over. And it kind of became his calling card, if you will. You know, that if you don't shake my hand, I'm going to knock your ass out. You know, it's not like he would go easy on him otherwise, but it's just sort of that it was always his receipt for them not acknowledging the handshake. And he worked there for a while, and that's when he started working with Angel of Mercy, who he became known as. Before that, he just went by his regular name, his own name. So they started tagging together. And then, you know, the guy adopted Angel of Mercy as his, pardon me, as his moniker. And they became known as the Angels. And they tagged for quite some time. Sometimes they'd go to singles and then come back together as a tag team. They never fought each other. And that pretty much brings us to ACPW, because, you know, they kind of went their separate ways, worked in different promotions. Angel of Death ended up as one of the founding members of ACPW, bringing his brand of hardcore wrestling to the promotion that focuses more on that's, you know, just the attitude of the match of the wrestlers rather than constantly using weapons, although they still use, you know, hardcore implements. But now, after quite a long time, the Angel of Mercy has found his way to ACPW. The Angels are back together, and now we are going to watch their very first tag match in ACPW, their first tag match back together as a team in several years, quite a few years. Let's get to it. I hope you liked the little bio. Unfortunately, everybody else won't have these bios because they aren't as well developed as characters, unfortunately. Some of them, we'll see, but not everybody. But let's get to it. Breaking.
Fight!
Alright, let's get into the Jackson fighting story against death. Flyer, dirty play, hit right. Back to bad corner. Send to the outside.
One!
Mercy, showing up a little bit there. Can't get a count on that obviously, but we're going to keep him distracted while they since they have get some nice knees, and he's going to send it back to the outside.
One!
Mercy, throwing some more. Suplex. Getting a little bit distracted. It's caught. There's Mercy needs to get out. Slips through. Nice one. Gets a leg. Drop it. He goes for a spin kick. Doesn't hit. That's hit with a punch. Ropes. Takes it back out. Over the few punches. Decides to take it out. Hands of Mercy deciding to go ahead and show off a little bit. Take it back. Mercy to the outside.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
hold him.
6,
On the outside.
1.
Gets a foot. Nasty. Stomp. I've seen him going after the legs. Takes it in hand and drops. AOD waiting for Jack to stand up. Takes it in hand and drops. Kick him in the leg. AOD looking for that tag and gets it. Jack already showing signs of fatigue. Damage to the head. Got it. Mercy running leg drop. He will use the spin gut and working with the tag. Standing aggressive kick. Mercy takes it hard. Goes down the press kick. Submission. to stop it, but Jack's already tackled. It's too late. Alright. Screen close up right there. Whoa. So, a little bit of ring rest there, but still very efficiently taking apart Jack Woodward. And there you got it, folks. The return of the Angel of Mercy. The return of the Angels to the tag team division of ACPW. Tag team wrestling in general, specifically to ACPW. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you all.